I was in the botanical gardens earlier today to film a book review, which I think went pretty well, except the entire time the camera was out of focus with my face. So, I recorded it, right? So, at least I did that. But while I was sitting in the botanical gardens, I found a wonderful little place with some trees in the backdrop, some foliage, near where the native birds hang out, so you could have that in the background. It was composed beautifully. The sun was in the right place. I built this tripod for the camera made of these branches, and it looked like a Blair Witch situation. So I sat there behind this Blair Witch situation talking, which would have looked like I was talking to myself from the path because the camera was quite small. I realized I had that point either in adulthood or in loss of dignity where you just, oh well, this is what I look like, you know? One of my favorite internet poets, well, I take that back. He used to be my favorite, but then I felt like I outgrew him in some ways. But he used to scream his poems in public parks, and occasionally people would call the police, and that was quite a intense poetry situation. But while I was in the park rambling on about who knows what, I looked behind me, and under a fern was some rubbish, and it was a bag of lollies, but it doesn't look like it's been opened. And I know what you're thinking, Tim, don't eat the lollies from the park. But look, it's unopened. I've looked over this again and again, and I'm reasonably sure, unless it's an elaborate ploy, somebody just left their lollies in the park. And they're not expired. They're gummy bears. Or specifically, Harobi gold bears. They're original since 1922. So do I eat these or do I not eat these? That's the question. I don't know. I kind of want to eat them, but they're lollies from the park. Tim, where did you get your sickness from? Oh, I got back on the park lollies. Yeah, I know. So I thought I'd do another book review here. Well, partly as practice for myself, because I want to be good at it. I want to be good at doing this. So cheer me on, Tim behind the camera. But the other reason is because I'm pretty sure I'm practicing with the focus, and I think I'm in focus now, which is really important. So today I talked about this book, and I'm going to talk about it again. Focus edition. This is the special. So I'm going to have a Patreon, and I put all my out of focus interviews, out of focus book reviews where my face is all blurry. Hello, I'm Blurry Face. And Blurry Face Tim with this book reviews. Public can watch all those, but if you want to pay for that, if you want to have that sweet focus, you got to pay some Patreon money. This will be another exact word-for-word account of what I reviewed today, which was the Colossus of Maroussi by Henry Miller. Look at that cover. Isn't that cover gorgeous? It's good, because if it was any other colours, it would be too much, but because it's white and blue, it isn't actually too busy. And of course, white and blue are the colours of Greece, which is this travelogue is set in. It's an account of a real travel that Henry Miller took on the eve of World War II, where he wandered around Greece, telling everyone, I am an artist. No. A writer. I'm a writer. Excuse me, where does the writer in this village live? He was a huge, privileged, I was going to say arsehole, but I think he wasn't especially an arsehole, but he was a bit of one. Henry Miller. Oh God. I've got that sickness from the park lollies. Henry Miller was, of course, by the way, my mug, brilliant mug. I made it maybe 10 years ago when I first got into poetry, and it's a very dramatic line from my favourite Auden poem. Set sail, meet with triumph and disaster, and treat these two impostors just the same. Which I think is a pretty good line, but it's also got all these references to video games. So it's not. I keep it as the ghost of myself past. Anyway, the Colossus of Maroussi is a fantastic travelogue. People call it an impressionist travelogue, whatever that means, but what it does mean is that the style is very wanky, and he will often, like, there's one character in this poor human being this is based on. There's one character he describes as a starfish, and he describes this character as a starfish, this human being as a starfish throughout this travelogue. And not only just, oh, he's like a starfish, he describes him as a starfish. You know, his many legs sprawled over the sofa. That's what it means by impressionist. It also means he'll spend 4 or 5 pages going on about why the sand is very important in relation to the spirit of human dirtiness. And when I say dirtiness, I'm not referring to sex, which what Henry Miller is actually prolifically known for. They would call it vulgarity, smut. Back in his day, he was very controversial with what he would put into words because it was like oil and water, and I'll explain it. It's like white and blue, or beard and not beard, because he would write about the most awful, dastardly, carnal acts of lust and flesh, which should never be in print. However, he was really good at writing. Not just really good at writing about body parts and indents and protrusions, but he was very good at writing about all of it, everything, set and setting. He describes landscapes like no other, well, some others, but he describes the Attic sky of Greece and how the sky and the light defines everything. Although I can just imagine him at a dinner party as he soirees around Greece in 1939 or 1938, where he's like, yes, this is all very good, but I must compliment you Greeks on your light. The light of the sun here is holy. And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, it's the sun, you know, it's good so we can work, so we can earn a living and survive. And Henry Miller's like, yes, survive, so strangely romantically, the gods are inside our skins. Henry Miller is a fantastic writer. I would highly recommend this book. Every book I talk about on a video and present to you, is a book that I would recommend you read. The whole point of this book review thing is it's sort of a pretense for read this book, buddy. There won't be a single book that I show that shouldn't be read, but why read this book? Well, because the style is incredible, because the way he weaves his words is just magnificent, and after hard days actually living and just trying to handle your crap, you get to bed and you think, you know what? I've spent way too much of my evenings on the internet. I spent way too much of my evenings on this website called Reddit and other websites, and I am sick of just... And so you think, okay, I'm going to get it together in my evenings. I may not be a morning person yet, but I can take a first step by reading in bed, and that will help me soothe myself and relax and get into an early night. But here's the problem. You read some stuff and it's not that great. You might even read some Henry Miller and you think, oh, this is a classic literature guy, and you read and you realise it's all quite intense body fluids and it's just not putting you to sleep. So what you could do is you could read a story where there's literally, the plot is privileged human being from the West, like America, wanders around Europe, wanders around Greece, and later reports on it and writes about his self-indulgent wanderings from island to island, from poet's table to poet's table, from restaurant to cafe. He writes about it in a very, very beautiful way. I'll just read a small passage to show you. It will be a completely random passage to prove a point. This sentence will be the greatest sentence you've ever heard in your life. Okay, starting now. Starting now. A few minutes later, the sun came out, and with it appeared the fellow who had been taking a nap. Whew, beautiful, isn't it? So yeah, there's a lot of dysfunctional sentences too. Dysfunctional or other functional. But he will occasionally go off for pages and pages about the movement. Okay, here we go. It reminded me of New York on a sweltering night in August. It was the herd again, something I had never felt in Paris, except during the aborted revolution. I sauntered slowly through the park towards the temple of Jupiter. There were little tables along the dusty paths set out in an absent-minded way. Couples were sitting there quietly in the dark, talking in low voices over glasses of water. The glass of water. Everywhere I saw the glass of water, it became obsessional. I began to think of water as a new thing, a new vital element of life. Earth, air, fire, water. Right now, water had become a cardinal element. Seeing lovers sitting there in the dark drinking water, sitting there in peace and quiet and talking in low tones, gave me a wonderful feeling about the Greek character. The dust, the heat, the poverty, the bareness, the containedness of the people, and the water everywhere in little tumblers standing between the quiet, peaceful couples, gave me the feeling that there was something holy about that place, something nourishing and sustaining. So he'll just buzz out about glasses of water. That's sort of the point. The point of this is it's a balm, it's a salve, it's something that you read when you need your soul to chill, you know? When you need to relax. It's sort of got a Sigur Rós undertones and aftertastes. I highly recommend reading Henry Miller, The Colossus of Maroussi, because it will take you to a colourful, glaringly glittery landscape far away from where you are right now, with how hard this stuff is we're doing right now is. And it will take you to this beautiful, peaceful island. And you'll have a great time there, and you'll wander to another island. And then another island. It's got that edge, it's got a tang, it's got a twist in the tail, and it's this. This is on the eve of World War II. So, whatever is happening in his little self-indulgent trip, there are reports and words and whispers of a mysterious force growing around the edges. I mean, it's apocalyptic, right? So it's not post-apocalyptic. It's sort of pre-apocalyptic. You've got some certain, like, realness and, like, seriousness to the growing threat of Germany. But it's around the edges. It's around the tattered edges. You have young men leaving, being called up for conscription. But it's not, there's no urgency yet. you've just got little whispers of a coming war. And it kind of puts a little spice on it, you know? It's kind of exciting. Because you've got a lot of okayness, but then you've also got a lot of... But you know what's going to happen. And we do know what's going to happen. You know what? The way he describes this whole country is so wonderful. But it could have easily been Hitler's country, you know? Thank goodness it wasn't. But when this was published in 1941, who knew? You know? Who knew what was going to happen? I would highly recommend reading the Colossus of Maroussi if you want a balm, a salve, to just chill yourself out after a evening or a day of incessant information and stress. And all of it, you know, and even fun. Just, it's spacey, it's airy, there are giant provinces with even gianter skies. And I would recommend reading this book. And notice that the cover is a labyrinth. It's not a maze. A maze has dead ends, and the whole purpose of a maze is to get to the exit. Whereas a labyrinth, it's usually, well, traditionally it's one path. So you can almost trace one path on this, but at least it's got no dead ends. And instead of trying to get to the entrance, the object of a labyrinth, of course, is to get to the centre. It's to go deeper within. So there's a little nice distinction there. Labyrinths, of course, are from and heavily connected to Greek mythology. But you've also got this beautiful way it sort of draws you in deeper and deeper into the story. What do you mean by deeper and deeper? You can just describe that with any story ever. Well, I mean, it doesn't... You're not looking for a resolution, okay? Now, this book gets some terrible reviews on Goodreads because people expect some sort of plot. And by plot, I suppose they mean some protagonist pushing the adventure along to solve a problem, say. But there is none of that here. This isn't a maze. We're not trying to get out. It's a labyrinth. We're wandering around. There are no dead ends. There's circular ideas. Ideas come and go. Themes come and go. Characters come and go. And we're just having a wander. This is us. Woo! 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 It's a good time, trust me. It's a beautiful dose. National Geographic says, Miller captures the spirit and warmth of the resilient Greek people in the story of wartime journey from Athens to Greece. And you know what? He may. But I'm sure this book has some problematic elements. He's a heterosexual, sexist, white male travelling in a foreign country, generalising places and people and ideas in sort of a, I mean, obviously it's almost Orientalism. It's like, what do you call it? Exoticizing? He's making it sort of, you know, this exotic place. So there is that to be aware of. But if you can sort of step aside from that, he is pretty educated. Okay? He might be awful, but he is actually quite good in some other ways. I would recommend The Colossus of Maroussi, published in 1941. You can get it on Goodreads for like $20, $25, and then you can keep it. And then this is yours. This is yours. And you know what? You don't even have to read it. You can just look at that. You can just have that. Oh yes, I own a Henry Miller book. I don't know about you. Is it Tropic of Capricorn? Okay, I own this one. It's a deep cut. It's a rare mean. And what I do enjoy is that you must read this at the beach. If you get a chance, if you're so privileged to have access to or be near or have some time at a beach in the summertime, this is the ultimate. This is one of the ultimate beach books because it's so airy and it's so. Yeah, I'd recommend it. I would. It ain't a lie. Okay. Good evening. Good evening.